So now we're going to talk about the two types of pushing. So number one, we have coached pushing, and number two, we have intuitive pushing. Coached pushing is the kind of pushing where someone is assisting you by counting to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And within that 10 count, they're going to want you to be actively bearing down and pushing. And within one contraction, they typically count to 10 2 or 3 times to try and get 2 or 3 really good pushes within that contraction. So that's the first one. Intuitive pushing is where your body is doing it automatically. So the first one, coached pushing, is voluntary, meaning you're doing it on purpose, you're actively pushing down. And the second type is intuitive, like I said, and that one is involuntary, where your uterus is literally doing all the work for you. It's still work, but you are not actively directing the work. And so to get more into the nuts and bolts of coached pushing, what that looks like is a little bit different depending on position and everything like that. So Cynthia, can you talk a little bit about when someone is being coached for pushing, what that looks like in terms of like the position that she might be in? Let's start there.
Right. So with pushing, it does depend on your birth. So if you want to have a medicated birth or a non-medicated birth, if you have an epidural, you are usually more likely to be in a semi-reclined position. And typically this looks like the mom supporting herself during pushing by grabbing the back of her thighs, and her elbows would be positioned more in a rowing position. So to think about how that looks, hands behind their thighs, elbows out, and you would want mom to have chin to chest. And when she is actively pushing, that's the position that she would be in. The reason why they do the counting, sometimes it's more beneficial for moms to know when and how long they're supposed to push. And to add to that is you want to push effectively. So if you can't push for the full 10 count, that is totally fine. If you can only push to the 5 or the 6, it's about, what's the saying, doing it right rather than the wrong, not the wrong way, but, oh, now I'm going blank. But it's fine. So
basically doing it effectively
yes,
for a shorter period
yes,
of time
exactly.
is better than like pushing for a really long time and only giving like a half effective
right
push,
exactly. There's a saying behind that.
Yeah.
But so this also can be done laying on your side and being supported, having either the partner support your leg while you're also pulling behind your leg. Same thing with your chest, your chin to your chest. But the reason behind this is because when you look at your pubic bone, or you think of your pubic bone, baby's head is trying to get out underneath that. And we kind of call it turtling, where every time you push, baby goes a little bit and then goes back. Maybe goes a little bit and then goes back in. And for the most part, this is a great process of birth because it helps everything stretch down below. But when you hear nurses or doctors telling you, okay, now get right back into it, it's because if you wait a little bit too long in between, then baby kind of slowly starts going back under that pubic bone. So the more effectively that you can push with those contractions, baby is more likely to go past that pubic bone, and that's when you start seeing baby crown, and then usually baby is born after that.
Right. I've also heard it talked about like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Right.
You don't want that step back to be too big, with a lot of time in between the 10 counts or the pushes. Right. Do you want to talk about the squat bar a little bit, because that can be a really effective position, I guess, as well.
Yeah, so most hospitals can utilize this, but using the squat bar gives moms the opportunity to have their body bear down a little bit more.
And gravity too, right?
Yeah, so I'm trying to talk through the position, but using gravity and thinking of how your body works and your pelvis opening, In that position, squatting is like the perfect position.